Hello and welcome. We are live. I'm just chilling out here tonight, playing some Animal Crossing, recovering after a long day of just waking up to find people at my door and dealing with that and all that sort of things. So yeah, I'm a little bit early tonight, but I guess it's better than late. And I have Animal Crossing, so everything's good. I'll be hunting for sharks again while I talk to you guys about what's been going on and things along those lines. There is a lot to talk about. There have been so many times over the past couple of weeks where I've wanted to stream, but I just did not have time. And now that I do, I don't know. There are always the situations where I always want to do something. I'm so busy with everything that goes on. It's just very difficult to keep track of everything. You know what I mean? And it just gets overwhelming, and I'm just finding myself like playing less and less games, doing less and less stuff, and that's kind of frustrating, but kind of rewarding at the same time because I'm doing so much anyway. There is just a lot of things going on, and that's not a bad thing at all. I find that like to be actually a really good positive thing. Like I think it's better to not have enough free time than to have too much free time. Because when you have too much free time, you end up like being degenerate, like doing all this stupid shit you shouldn't be doing. Like I don't even know. Like playing too many, like having no real goals, essentially, no real world aspirations, or not being like responsible, or just being supportive of your family or community or anything like that, or just even just hanging out, cleaning up your house or whatever. I just I don't know, man. Like doing more stuff for me is becoming more and more rewarding. Getting away from like that neatish lifestyle. Like I will never say that I was a neat, like ever, but there are times where like I don't know, like I have a lot in common with neats. Like I play, the same amount of games and stuff like that. More games, I would say honestly. There's a lot again, there are things that I have in common with like neats and neat culture. Like I like the same sort of things and things like that. Like I do watch anime, I do play video games. I play video games while I'm streaming. There's just a lot. I don't know. Like I've said this before, probably not on stream, but I've said this before that like growing older and like gaining more responsibilities is probably the best thing that's ever happened to me because I've been able to do more stuff. I've been able to like deal with my problems and have the money, the resources to like get stuff done and do stuff, and not just for myself but for other people. And to me, that's an amazing feeling. Something that like I honestly never really thought about growing up, like how rewarding it is to be there for other people in that regard. And that's just that's just a really wonderful feeling, I think. um yeah, but of course I still play video games. I still play Animal Crossing. Like I play Animal Crossing on stream. You know how that is, right? That's never really going to change. I think to what extent I play video games, it's becoming um up in the air, I would say. Like I'm not sure whether I'll be able to continue this like a 10-hour a day thing. I've been doing 10 hours of gaming a day. Nah. I don't know. Like, do I want to do that? Do I want to keep doing that? Like, I enjoy doing it. I still do, but at the same time, there are other things to do. There are other responsibilities. There are other things to worry about. And I don't know. There is just so much going on, and it's absolutely wonderful. Everything in my life is going spectacularly, and that, my friends, is why I wanted to talk to you today about the whole black pill thing and the black pill thing. um, Man, it is possibly the most conspiracy filled, um, short sighted. The black pill to me feels like a bunch of people who are getting worked up over the fact that people are not doing what they think should be done. You know, like people are being, certain people are upset that other people are not doing everything they think needs to be done to improve society and to improve like our culture as a whole and to like make things better for everyone. And to me, that's completely ridiculous, completely insane, and completely out of sync with what you should be concerned about with your life. Like you should, all you need to do in order to be happy, in order to succeed, in order to like figure out things in your life is to like make things best for you, make things right for you, and then like contribute back to society, like give back to the society that you were raised in and are willing to support and things along that line. Like to me, I feel as if the people who are most upset about like the incoming, well, maybe I should just hang off a bit there. There is an awful lot to talk about. I just don't even know where to get started. Censorship is a really good thing to start with, right? Because you have these instances where things get removed from online communities for whatever reason. Like it could violate guidelines. It could be because of like corrupt moderators. It could be like for any reason. And you have these people, right? Like Mr. Medicare is a great example. You have these certain people who will like go online and like scream for hours and hours about like how everything is ruined, how this is going to like destroy society, how like the companies are going to take everything from us, how this is all going to end. That is just alarmist bullshit, right? Like that is something that I think is ridiculous, unwarranted, and something that I don't think people will have allow to happen. It doesn't matter what the companies want, what like the executives want, what the government wants. Like if the people don't want that, it's simply not going to happen. And I think taking Twitter is a really good example of this. What is going to happen if Twitter continues to ban everyone that has a differing opinion than like the SJW mods? What's going to happen? Like the conservatives, the people who are getting oppressed are going to move on to another platform eventually. And people like Medicare, right? This is the main reason I'm making this stream, because he made this. I saw this really ridiculous rant from him. He was like coming up with all these excuses, like they'll go after your monetization, they'll deplatform you, they'll shut down all the competition. No, what's going to happen is that people are, the more people are censored on these big platforms, the more that like the alternative platforms are being shut down, the angrier normal people will get. They'll start to understand what's going on and they'll start to rebel, and then like everything will sort of collapse. You can sort of see this happening with like the Twitter SJW sphere right now, right? Where they can't really censor the people that they desperately want to censor. Like you have people like in the Kick Vic movement, right? They're going around trying their hardest to deplatform people like Nick Rekieta, like the Umbrella Guy, those guys. They're like doing all this stuff. They're doxing people. They're making threats against kids. They're doing all this terrible shit, right? Everything they can to try and get the corporations to take notice and take the problematic people out, right? But it's sort of falling on its face because Rekieta is, an industry professional. He is a lawyer. He has every right to comment on this issue. Like he's doing nothing wrong in that respect. Like what we're finding more and more, like people are not able to justify everything that they disagree with as being like the work of neo-Nazis, right? They can't like say that like Nick Rekieta is like a racist, like that he hates like women or minorities or anything like that. Like they tried they tried to do that, to try to get him deplatformed, to try to discredit him, to try to get more and more people to rally up against him, but it's just not happening, right? And I think what's going to happen going forward is that like SJWs are becoming more and more comfortable with sending the Twitter mobs against anyone with any sort of offense, right? Like I saw like a video of a kid being bullied on a Twitter video, right? And immediately someone shared it, and they were like, "Twitter, do your thing," and then like set the and like people like were retweeting angrily and like talking about how this shouldn't be allowed and stuff like that. That was probably justified. Like I imagine there are justified instances, well, where there are like injustices that the Twitter mobs do sort of help out on. But like the more and more that people start to realize that like there are high profile instances where people abuse this kind of mindset, people abuse people's goodwill of trying to sort of go out, lash out at like these perceived injustices, like the less people are going to care about it. Like, maybe people will support one autistic kid being bullied on Twitter, right? But like when there's like a million of them, like you simply become desensitized to it and you don't really care anymore. And so it sort of it just continues to escalate, right? They're going to have to like, what they do is try to make things more and more extreme to try and keep normies, to keep them to keep their attention, to get them to care about what they're talking about, and like hopefully get their support in other interests, like getting opposing political views taken down, for example, that sort of thing. And to me, I don't know, like the Twitter hate mob thing, the throttling, the censorship, like it's not really sustainable, because if you continually censor anyone with like any sort of following or sort of support or anything like that, like it's going to erupt in your face, right? Like what would happen if Donald Trump got banned from Twitter tomorrow, right? Twitter would like lose a significant chunk of their user base. They'll lose their credibility. They'll be exposed as the frauds they are. And they're not going to do that because even they understand they can't get away with that. But they're going to try to take away like smaller contributors, more fringe people, stuff like that, and try to like escalate up to that point where they can reach that situation. But that's just it's going to reach the point where they're going to alienate a significant portion of their audience. They need to keep up this facade of neutrality. That's very, very important. You'll notice a lot of these fake news outlets, they like outright deny being left leaning. They'll like try and like say they're equally balanced when that's pretty clearly not the case. They just don't like to admit how biased they actually are when it comes to like these sort of things, right? It's the same with Twitter and this sort of thing. Like I think as more and more people are aware of just what the problem with fake news is, what the problem with these social media conglomerates is, what the problem with like people like Mark Zuckerberg is, people like that, like I think it's going to lead to like a major backlash. It's already sort of happening with Facebook, right? Where anybody who's knowledgeable about it, like how they make money and things along those lines, like nobody uses it. Like I myself don't have a Facebook because I have no intention of letting my information be handled by Zuck and his cronies, right? Like I'm not going to let that happen. That is not something I'm interested in doing, essentially. That's just my opinion. That's my right to privacy. Like I think that's the main thing here, is that like a lot of these companies are like infringing on people's rights to privacy, and people aren't really able to backlash against it just yet. They have no idea, where to go, who to talk to, who to really discuss this with. And that to me, it's a problem, but it's a problem that will someday be dealt with, right? It's going to take like, there's going to be something that sets it off. There's going to be something that sort of gets it out to where it needs to be, something that people can rally behind. Sort of like with Gamergate, right? Sort of like with the Vic Mignogna situation. Like it took a while to get to the point where people were comfortable coming out and talking about these issues, right? Like it took people a long time to talk about this weird social justice slant in video games, right? Like people first began to notice it in like 2008, right? With the whole Resident Evil 5 is racist thing, right? That was the big deal then. That was that was the problem. That was the problem with that game. Not that it was a lazy rehash of 4, not that it like didn't offer anything new, not that it wasn't a very good game, but because it was racist. Like that was the thing. And people called them out on it like back then. But it took until 2014 with the whole Gamergate thing where people came out and like really started hammering home this specific problem with gamer journalism. And there are still lots of other unaddressed problems with gamer journalism, with like the whole, right now people are shilling shilling Respawn Entertainment as being like this amazing studio when they're complete trash. But really, if you're like knowledgeable about it, you should already know this. You should already know how to deal with it. Like you should, at the end of the day, not support the company, tell people why you're not supporting them, and just go on with your life. You don't need some big movement. You don't need to worry about the long-term effects. You just need to do what's best for you and then lead by example. So, for example, I'm one of the people who are most adamant about not supporting corrupt gaming journalists, right? Like corrupt gaming companies, I should say. Like I've always said, don't support Ubisoft, don't support EA, don't support like any of these big third parties because they're corrupt. They are desperately trying to fuck you over. And by doing that, by going Nintendo exclusive, I led by example and helped, by extension, like minimally, but just by being myself, helped usher in this age of the Switch, this superior alternative platform. And that's despite the overwhelming ad campaign against it, right? And that's to me is how we should handle everything that's going wrong with our society. We should just ignore the stuff that doesn't work, the bad media, the bad entertainment, the bad business practices, the the censorship. Like we should just ignore it and just keep doing what we want to do anyway. That's all you really need to do in order to like get people to like appreciate what you're doing, to have fun, to show people that what you're doing is normal and acceptable and not at all unreasonable, like to normalize it essentially. And then the laws should follow, right? Like people will want to support you because if they genuinely think you're just like, if you're a normal person, there's no reason to have a law against you, to like oppress you essentially. And that, I think, is the key to getting people, unrelated to whatever you are doing to support you, right? Because I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who came out and spoke out against the whole Pokemon is evil thing back in the 90s. Like that was just like one of those things, right? The modern day equivalent of like games are racist, right? Spoony talks about this happening with Dungeons and Dragons too, stuff like that, right? The best thing you can do is just keep enjoying what you enjoy anyway. Like just do what you want to do and everything will be fine. Like people will want to support you, if you're genuinely enjoying yourself and want to keep doing what you're doing. And of course, if it's healthy, if it's reasonable, things along those lines, right? Like this is something, this I think is how this is how we defeat these corporations, right? Like we actually genuinely enjoy things and reject what they're trying to force on us. Like we want to support certain policies. We want to support certain politicians. We want to support certain ideas. We want to support certain video games. We don't want anything to do with Titanfall or Destiny or illegal immigration, like anything along those lines. Like simply by doing and fighting for what we want, we'll have no overcome we'll have no trouble overcoming what they want, which is like, nothing but profits, nothing but just overall for their own personal gain. And I think people always come up with these conspiracy theories that there's like some sort of like agenda, global agenda. Like personally, going by what I've observed personally, like when people are trying to fuck you over, it's entirely because of money. Like there's no conspiracy to it. They don't even really want to fuck you over. They're just doing it to cut costs or to like make more money or do something that benefits them directly. Like they're not really thinking about you at all. They don't really care about you as a person. Exactly. And the best thing you can do in that situation is like, it's like any other abusive relationship, right? Like do everything you can to get out of it and to like support yourself and, rise above this sort of nonsense, to talk about this sort of address the issue. Yeah, for sure. But definitely don't make yourself a slave to these kinds of mindsets. Don't make yourself a slave to like society or a job or anything like that, or or even a video game company, right? Right? Just figure out a way to do what you want to do and sort of accomplish what you want to accomplish and reach your goals and like do what you want to do. That is the key, I think, to sort of overcoming all of this. Like you can't let everything that's going wrong in your life like control you. You have to think about what's going right and how to get more of that. Try to push yourself to reach the point where nothing can really touch you, right? Where you're simply too much for all of these people to handle. And you should be successful in spite of everything wrong with society, what's going on, and everything that's happening, essentially. Like you need to think about what's best for you and what's best for everyone around you. And that's no problem. Like that, once you get going, once you like think of it from that perspective, it all becomes easy, right? Like you can't let yourself be overwhelmed by the world's problems. You can't let yourself be concerned with everything that other people are going through. You need to think about what's best for you. How do I become successful? And how do I use my success to help other people, to help my community, to help my world, my environment, my favorite video game company? Like, what do I do that's best for me, essentially? It sounds kind of selfish in that regard, but you cannot simply you cannot give everything you have away and then like get it all back, right? You need to like constantly be in this position where like you're taking care of yourself and you can sort of build other people around you up too, so they can give back to the community as well in their own way. It might be different than yours, but like it's so rewarding. It's so in and of itself. Even the little things like sort of help. I've noticed, like just simply being nice to people. I've found it's like does a lot to make them feel like they belong, like they're doing something right, that they're like going along the right path, right? That's the way to go. And when I go on like a poll or whatever, when I look at like these Blackpill things, it seems so out of touch with reality. Like when I see people complain about women or the job market or like their superiors or anything like that, like I just feel like these people would fail no matter what environment or setting or like or situation they would find themselves in. They would always find some kind of excuse as to why they aren't excelling and why they aren't like doing what they want to do and like accomplishing what they want to accomplish. They would always find some justification, some reason why they can't do certain things, why they can't meet the right girl, why they can't get that job, why they can't do, own a home or anything like that. Like they always seem to come up with some kind of ridiculous excuse, right? Like, oh, people want to hire black people over me. They want to hire illegal immigrants. They want to do all this stuff. They're fucking me over, man. To me, even if that was a problem, I'm not saying it is. Like, even if that was a problem, like, you're going to have to just deal with it. That's all there is to it. Like, do you think, I've always noticed this, like, people always hype up the 50s as being like this perfect time to live in. But like, the 50s had their own problems, Like, it led to like kids growing up in the 50s. I don't know, like plenty of them became hippies in the 60s. Like, I don't know. Like, it leads to this environment when everything is going well. It leads to this environment where like people just don't care and they sort of like let go and do whatever they want and end up being complete fuck ups, right? Like, it's sort of, there's always going to be problems no matter what you do. And what you need to think of, when dealing with this kind of stuff is not necessarily how to deal with all of your problems, but what ones you can deal with now, and then what ones you need to like work towards and like accomplish and make things better for. Because like, we can't get all of the trash out of the ocean today, right? But it's something we need to be like conscientious about. We need to like think about it, like how to handle that sort of thing, sort of like that. Like, it's something we need to do, and it's being talked about, but the solution isn't really there yet, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but we just need to overcome this kind of thing. We don't need you need to be willing to deal with problems. You need to be willing to face them and address them and be willing to fix them and like work towards it and find something that will work for you, essentially. And you can't sort of let like the overwhelmingness of it all get to you. Like, you just sort of have to like figure out what's best and then sort of do it, Like, that's how I feel about that, really. That to me is just I always feel like people just, make excuses no matter what. What's a good example here? Oh, I didn't talk about women. Yeah. This is something I see a lot on like message boards and stuff like that. Bitching about women specifically, like, why can't I find a nice girl? Why are they all sluts? Why do they not like me? And that's sort of understandable. Like, we all want to be with someone ideal, and there's nothing wrong with that, of course. But like, the justifications for why you can't find someone, or why you can't find someone you like, or whatever, why people are irresponsible, like, there is just so much bitching about women, like complaining about women wanting specific kinds of people, like blaming women for wanting someone of like a specific, like someone who makes more than, like criticizing women for wanting someone who's like appealing to them, essentially, like someone who's taller, makes more money, things along that. Like, why would she want to be with someone who doesn't have money? Why would she not want to be financially secure? Why does she not want her children to be taken care of? Like, you have to think about it in that perspective, right? Like, all women have sort of like desires and needs of their own, and sometimes it's irresponsible, right? Like, you have people who just want to party all the time. Like, you shouldn't want those people, right? Like, you should just reject them, ignore them, and just go on with your life. Like, they are simply not people you want anything to do with. But like, I don't know, man. it's sort of like it's just sort of I feel like everyone's expectations for what they should have in a partner are kind of overblown to begin with because of like all this media, Disney movies in particular, where everyone is like everything is like amazing, like everybody's like super I don't super attractive and has like all this money and stuff like that, like can do all this stuff. That's sort of like people get this impression that like is perfectly normal for other kids to do. Like they get the impression that like they're lower class enough. I don't know. Like whenever I see a complaint about like women, I don't know. Like you see people complain about women in nightclubs being sluts, and that's just why are you going to a nightclub if you don't want a slut? Why, if you want like a traditional QT waifu, why the fuck are you going clubbing? Why are you not doing something else? Something that would like put you in the spot where you can meet someone who fits your criteria, what you want in a partner. Like, I don't know. And it's so strange. Like these guys, like, the incels, the virgins, stuff like that, they always go on about like, they have this weird double standard, right? Where they always criticize women for being sluts, but then like go on, like they'll let it slip by accident, like they won't address this, but they seem to imply that they want to fuck all of these girls. So the issue is not that these women are sluts. The issue is that these women are not sluts for them, that they're not getting that. Like, again, this is what I mean by the double standards, right? Like, they want to fuck these women, but they don't want other guys to fuck them. Like, again, so it's like a double, like, that's what I mean when I say, like, unrealistic standards. Like, you can't go around, be a normal guy. You can't go around and have like crazy sex with like all of these incredibly fuckable virgin girls, right? Like that's just not going to happen, right? Like it's just probability, right? People always go on about like, ooh, virgins, like they're sluts. No, they're doing exactly what society says they should to like find a partner, right? To like just try to meet someone, exactly, try to keep someone, and like to try and form a relationship, right? That's what they're told to do, essentially. And I don't know. That's just I don't know. For me personally, when it comes to women, my issue is like obesity, and like this is something I don't see mentioned as much, right? Like for me personally, I do not like women unless she's like a woman, unless she's like super super in shape, right? Kind of weird considering I'm a fucking gamer who spends like 10 hours a day gaming. Like I do that a lot, but it's true. Like I go after like marathon runners and gymnasts and stuff like that. Like that's the sort of person I like. Like that's the sort of energy I want to be around. That I like, that I appreciate. Right. Kind of weird considering my lifestyle, but whatever. I make it work. Lots of fun. Great people to be around. Like I cannot stand personally. I cannot stand women who don't take care of themselves physically. Like I don't like people who don't live healthy lifestyles. I don't like people who don't eat well. I don't like people who don't exercise. I don't like people who drink. That's my thing. Well, maybe not. I think everybody drinks. I don't, but I don't know. Like I think drinking has a lot more health problems than people let on. Because I noticed that like I don't know. Like I don't drink at all, and I feel like I think I look a lot younger than people my age. I look a lot more healthy. I don't know. Maybe it's other things. Maybe it's because like I exercise so much. But man, like I had like YouTube. Like when people were first started criticizing my YouTube channels, they were telling me that like I was still in high school. or even younger, and I'm just like, really? Really? Is it entirely because I don't drink? Like, is that's like the only thing I can think of, because like I used to look older than I looked. I don't really know what's going on with that at all, but that's just that's just my opinion on that. Again, like taking care of yourself, like I think obesity is actually one of the biggest epidemics in America right now. Like I don't care about the job market. I don't care about like everything else that's going on. I don't care about the wars. I don't care about any of that shit. We can all take care, we can take care of all of that, right? The issue is that everyone is fat. Like everyone does not, no one has the energy to do anything they want to do. They just sit around and watch TV all the time, and that's sort of their lifestyle. Like they get home from work and then just do that. They don't do anything else. And that is the worst to me. That is like, for someone like me who does so much in their personal life and wants to accomplish so much stuff and do so much with their lives, like that to me is like absolutely pitiful. And I just don't like that at all. That's just completely ridiculous to me. I that needs to be addressed. Like people feel, I think, that obesity is completely normal, and I don't see a lot of people even really addressing it much. They just sort of like accept it and just sort of accept. Yeah, I weigh 300 pounds and I eat all the time. Like people like Boogie 2988, right? They exist. They're everywhere. They just sort of they don't have hobbies. They don't have any interest. They just sit around and eat all the time. Like I am going to come out here and say this. Like I don't even consider Boogie 2988 a gamer. And the reason I say that is because like he's buying all this stupid bullshit. Like he buys stuff as it comes out, but like it's all stupid bullshit that doesn't really it that doesn't seem like he enjoys it, right? There are so many times where he buys a game and then like never really talks about it, you know? Like I remember him buying all these Wii U games at one point. Like in 2014, it was sometime after he married his ex-wife, right? He had all these games laid out, and I don't know, like I just got that impression that like he wasn't going to play a lot of them. Like he definitely didn't play Wii Fit U. I can tell you that much. Did he play Wind Waker? Did he play like Wii Party U? I don't know. I don't know. Like it was just so bizarre to me. And like I caught him on Twitch that year. I was still watching his content back then, and he was like playing Destiny, right? And he was trying to tell people he was enjoying it. But as we all know now, nobody enjoys Destiny. And I think that's the thing with a lot of these obese people, right? Is that they try to convince you. A lot of these non-gamers who buy games now, they try to convince you that they're having fun. They try to convince you that they're enjoying themselves. They try to convince you that what they're doing is what they want and what they appreciate, what they like doing. But in reality, they're doing this because they have nothing else. Like people watch streams, video game streams, because they have no friends and they want someone to talk to. People play bad games because they want to be part of this community, of this people, right? They want to be part of this situation, of this sort of this community, right? They want to be part of this. They want to be part of something, but they aren't really willing to put in the time or energy to develop a new skill or a new interest. Like they latch onto video games not because they enjoy them, but because they have nothing else in their life, because they have nothing else going on. So compared to someone like me who manages to balance 10 hours of gaming a day with like a loaded work schedule, hobbies, girls, women, like stuff like that, even fucking around with a family, right? Like hanging around with them, right? Someone like me who does all of that, I don't know. Like to me, it just feels like someone like I would never. I've said this about Toby Fox in the past, but I would never in my life trade what I have for what Boogie 2988 has. Like he is a land whale, obese motherfucker who has done nothing to improve his life or situation, is in his entire 42-year-old, he's 42, right? In his entire existence, right? Like the only reason he's lost so much weight now is because he's sort of what's happened. He had the operation, right? I believe he's bounced back. Like I believe he's gaining the weight again. I believe he's like he's fucking it all up again. Like I don't know. Like he is like Boogie 29 is a great example of this. Like he is the perfect example of someone who puts himself out there as being really happy with everything, like completely satisfied with his life, like completely happy. It isn't true. Like it is not true. He is completely depressed, completely out of touch with what he needs to do to improve his situation, and he's not going to do anything to change it. And that's so frustrating to me. And I imagine, people even half his weight have the same sort of problems. Like people, I don't know, they don't do anything. They just sort of like perpetually exist. They just go to work and then come home and then watch TV. That's such a depressing lifestyle. I hate that so much. It depresses me so much. And again, I've done so much to prevent that from happening to me, to have the same sort of like problems, but like to me, that's like the major problem plaguing American society is just this refusal to adopt a healthier lifestyle among certain people. And the government should not have to step in to do this or anything like that. It needs to be something that people are willing to come in and do, just do. They just need to step up and do it themselves. They have they need to do it themselves, right? And to me, that this is the problem with the black pill, right? People are just are getting worried about things that don't really concern them, right? Like they're getting uppity about like all this stuff that like depressed about all this stuff that's like kind of out of their control, but not really taking charge of the stuff that is in their control. And when you do that and sort of improve as a person and sort of like think about where you're going to be in 5, 10, 20, 50 years, right? Like everything sort of slowly begins to fall into place, right? Like it doesn't matter how badly you've been fucked over by life, as long as you like keep improving and keep figuring out what you're going to do eventually, like later on down the road. And that is something I've been realizing quite often in the past year. Actually, it's just oof. Yeah. So, is there anything else I wanted to talk about? The job market, I think I wanted to bring up. There is a lot of talk among online communities about how like the boomers fucked us over and how there are no jobs and how there's like nowhere to go to get like a decent paycheck. And I don't know. Like, I don't think that's necessarily a problem with the job market. Exactly. Like, I am more willing to blame education because education, the school system did nothing, absolutely nothing to prepare me for anything that I could have done immediately after high school. Like what they tried to do was prepare me for a college that I was not going to take. And it was entirely a waste of time. Like for me, I just sort of did my own thing immediately after high school, and it was great. Like I made everything work out for me, despite their insistence that that simply was not possible. I'm very angry about that. But if I had spent my formative high school years like acquiring real world skills, right, like learning how to work on cars or like learning to program or like just even just going out and like enjoying a park or something, like learning what rangers do, or like hanging out with cops, or doing something where you can become familiar with like uh, all the available jobs that are out there, right? Like something like that. If something like that was like easier to attain, like I would have had no problems at all getting to where I need to be. Like like they always it just never stops, right? Like you're always expected to have more experience than what you need to do the actual job. Like it just, I don't know. To me, all you need to do to like succeed in the job market is just acquire as many skills as possible, master them, and then just sort of throw them on resumes and then like just bring them up when you're asked about them, right? Do everything you can to stick out from the crowd, right? Even if it's not like related to your job exactly, like it really it catches people's eyes. Like as well, I find that as long as I get an interview, I'll be fine. You know, in this situation because like I'm so good at presenting myself to other people. But to me, just take what you can get and think about what you're going to do next, like immediately. That's what I've been doing. Is that like I take a job that's been higher paying than my last one, and then I immediately start looking into what my next job is going to be, like what's going to happen after this, what skills I'll have acquired at this job that I could use to get a higher paying job down the road. So like I've been doing this a lot, and I've been getting higher paying work pretty consistently, like over the past couple of years. And it's just, you can't worry about industry changes. You can't worry about that sort of thing. You're just going to have to do anything to get that paycheck, to stay relevant, to stay on top of things, and to get the experience you need for what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. Like, again, I think the main thing, right, that people are getting upset about is that they aren't able to get their dream job immediately after high school. And high schools specifically try to tell you that, like, ooh, if you go to college, you can do anything you want. Yeah, by putting yourself deep in debt and like fucking yourself over in the long run. By avoiding college, I really want to bring this up. By avoiding college, I completely avoided a whole lot of debt, and I owe nothing in debt right now, and I have all this shit, right? Because I have such a nice job and I have like everything that's worked out for me, right? Like again, I stream for fun, I talk about this stuff for fun, I game for fun, I do all this other stuff. There's just again, if you take care of your problems, if you like think about what's going on, how like the job market works, and like how people hire and what they're looking for, like you should, no matter what, be able to find something that can get you going and to get you started and to keep your head above water, basically. Like even if you're not like in an ideal situation, like I'm not in an ideal situation, where I feel like perfectly comfortable working the rest of my life there, I should say. Even if you're not in an ideal situation, it's something that will help you get on your way and to get to where you need to be. Like there are problems with the workplace, there are problems with education, but it's just something you have to deal with. That's all there is to it. Like it's not you should not be angry at society for not handing everything to you on a silver platter. It is something you need to work towards. It's something you need to think about. It's something you need to figure out for yourself. What you yourself want from your life, like what you want to accomplish. Exactly, and like no school could help you realize that. No job could help you realize that. Like you just need to figure out what you want to do. That's all there is to it, right? Like I found, I should say, because this entire stage is pretty much over with me. Like I found when thinking about what I wanted to do with my life, like it's kind of interesting. By doing what you're interested in, you'll naturally find yourself gravitating towards what you would want to do for a living. So, for example, by playing a lot of video games, I became interested in like police work and mysteries and stuff like that. Things along those lines, which got me interested in like the law and sort of like got me looking at this sort of law-related professions, right? Like that is something that can happen, right? By pursuing your interests, you'll find something tangentially related to that interest that should lead you down a valid career path and something that like could be able to make a living off of, right? And some people are taking that advice a little bit too literally. Oh, I like playing video games. I'll just stream video games for a living, and that's not exactly what you should do. Exactly. Well, I guess if you make money off of it, like it's fine to do as a hobby, but like understand there are problems with that. Understand that like it's not sustainable. Understand that kind of thing. And to me, that's how it should work. Like to me, that's the way to do it. It's just do what you like, and it'll sort of gravitate towards you. Don't let the schools or your parents fuck with you in that regard. Uh, I just I don't know. Like I see boomers always getting angry at like people for enjoying video games, like calling it like a waste of time and stuff like that. It isn't. Okay. Like it's just a fun thing you do, right? Like it's just something you appreciate. It's something you find value in. And if you find value in it, it's not a waste of time, right? Like again, you cannot acquire an interest with like doing stuff that sort of that serves as sort of introductory towards it. And I don't know, that's my problem with the job market is that like they don't really offer proper training. I get okay. This is my rant. This is my rant about the job industry. Like pretty much every job you could think of, like I would say like 70% of jobs, like they do not require a college degree. Like all of those 70% should just offer on-the-job training, train you yourself, train you themselves, and then have you like do whatever they want you to do, right? That's all they need to do. And yet somehow that's like too difficult for them. And they sort of expect you to go to college to like acquire skills. You don't really acquire skills unless you take like specific courses. Like again, this is why I think college is kind of a waste because like the only reason anybody is going is to try and get a higher paying job, to try and like sustain themselves and to try to like make it, right? And that just isn't working out for a ton of people. Like I've just gotten word that one of my school old friends has a degree in like sports management or something like that, which is bizarre to me because he fucking sucks at sports. Like he has a degree in sports management, and not only does he not have a job in sports management, he doesn't have a job, period, from what I understand. Like he doesn't do shit. Like he moved back in with his parents. Like what? Like what? That is like kind of an epic fail to me right there. Like I don't know how much money he spent or how much money debt he's in, but like simply going to college for a job and then not getting that job is just just kind of depressing in and of itself, right? And like I'm hearing of this happening more and more and more, right? Like there are people who like go to college and are successful, but like those are the people who have been like training for specific things since they were like kids, whose parents were like really, really involved with them and were like pushing them to do all this stuff and like putting them in like the best programs and stuff like that. Like I don't know. Like there are successful people who go to college. I'm not saying that, but like the vast majority of them that I've witnessed, like the people who just sort of go just to go, they're lazy shits who just want to party all the time. They don't acquire any real skills. And like, I don't think anybody is going to want to hire them. Like, I don't know. Like, it's a problem with like men and women alike, I think. I don't know. It's just becoming kind of ridiculous. And I am very, very happy with my personal decisions of, not going. Like it could have been like I think I would have been successful if I had gone, but like I don't know, like why do you need to go right away? Why could you not just wait and like work another job, build money and like learn how to like handle debt before like again going right after high school seems to scream to me that people just want to go to party and have fun and like they just sort of sell you on this like myth. They just sell you on this idea that like accumulating this debt is worth it. Newsflash. I did not go to college, but I did hang around college campuses. So I did get to hang around. So I managed to have the exact same experience despite not actually going. So yeah, uh, yeah. Good on you guys. Good on you for that one. You wasted like $40,000, if not more than that. Like what? Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. She has like what, a $300,000 education, and she was like working as a bartender. Like how many people live like that? Like that's just so bizarre to me. I don't know, man. Like going to college seems like a mistake. Like acquire a real skill, something you can put on a resume. Why? Say you have experience. Say you have more experience. Say you have experience. Like just do whatever it takes to get a job and learn it. Like there is no reason for this arbitrary requirement, right? You should just be able to, work whatever you can handle, really. And like plenty of people are like hiring. Like again, it's just so bizarre. They just kind of refuse you for no reason. I find they just don't want you for like stupid arbitrary reasons. I don't know. It's just something you have to deal with, right? No matter what happens, you're just going to have to like overcome it. Acquire. This is the thing I'm looking into. It's like acquire alternative methods of gaining income, like finding something else you can do that sort of brings in cash if you need it, like in case you come into an emergency, right? Like I don't know, like I've heard of people who like make their livings off of like selling stuff on Amazon. So maybe that's something I could do like on the side to like make a little extra dollars to bring in a couple more video games a year. um, I don't know, like things like that. Like again, lots of people do YouTube as a hobby. I don't know. Maybe I could do that. I don't know. Uh, yeah. How many people would how, how much would I make with my 230 subscribers? I don't know. Nothing probably, right? But like again, it's just something to think of. Like if your career fucks you over for whatever reason, like you need to think about what your next job is going to be, and like what else you can do, and like how you're going to bounce back from this. Like you should probably be thinking about this before it even happens. Like I am kind of thinking about this before it even happens. Like what am I going to do next after this? And if you do that, if you're like prepared for it, like it sort of becomes easy, right? It all sort of falls into place. Like at this point in time, I could be like fired from my job today and be completely fine because like I have a backup plan. I have like alternative jobs lined up. I have like things I could handle, things I could do. Emergency backup plans. I have like plenty of things saved up. Like it's just something. If you're prepared for it, it's not a big deal at all. And if you're prepared for it, it's not a big deal. Yeah. Let's talk about climate change because I really, really want to talk about how we're going to die in 12 years. That's the actual meme they're pushing like right now is that we are all going to die in 12 years if we don't take immediate action for climate change by letting the elites tax us even more money. So, yeah. I think I've made my. I don't think I've made my opinion on this clear yet, because like again, I'm not a climate change scientist. I don't want to talk about something I don't know anything about. But climate change has to be the biggest joke I think I've seen out of modern politics, more than like identity politics, even because I think people are like comfortable talking back about identity politics. Like I see a lot of people shit on like the LGBT community on like that sort of things. Like I see a lot of criticism lobbied at those people, the social justice crowd right now, but I don't see a lot of people really addressing the problem with climate change, right? Where the government is promising to save us from climate change if we just give them more money. To me, climate change, like it's clearly a thing that exists because like of course the climate has been changing for like millions of years. But that's it. That's the rub here. That's the thing they don't want to talk about. Over millions of years, the climate does change. There are major geographical changes as time goes on. tide levels change, stuff like that, like continents move. That has nothing to do with climate change, but like there are major things that change over time, right? We know this. Like this is an understood scientific fact, but it changes so slowly that all of us will be able to adapt to any changes that might occur, and that is the thing that gets me about climate change, because that is why they're pushing this up. The world is going to end in 12 years meme, right? Because they're trying to scare people into giving them money. When all you have to do when climate change becomes a real issue is make minor lifestyle changes. That's it, right? Nobody wants to talk about whether or not I've noticed nobody is talking about like actual things we could do to survive in this post-climate change world. It's all about like stopping something that is probably in the long term completely inevitable, right? Like they're not seriously talking about how best to handle changes, right? To talk about how best to handle this changing environment, not talking about like the possible benefits of climate change. Like maybe if the ice melts in the Antarctic, like people could live up there. Like maybe that would be like a new place we could live, and like maybe there's some undiscovered resource up there that was buried on the ice. Like nobody, again, it just seems like alarmism, right? Like they're not seriously talking about how to fix the issue, right? Or how to deal with the issue, I should say, like how to adapt to the issue, right? They just sort of like tell you that we're going to fix it if you give us money, like 70% of your income or whatever. What is like Alexandria? What does like that woman say about climate change? Because like I don't know. The more I see, like I had no idea who this woman was until like she was elected. Nobody did. But like just the bullshit she says about climate change is just ridiculous. Can I play this for you? I really need to figure out OBS because I really need to like start showing you this stuff. Yeah, I should. I desperately wish I had talked about the Green New Deal. Like I completely forgot. I wish I had talked about this thing. I wish I had talked about it. Like I really do, because like it just goes to show you just the ridiculous links. I don't know. Like it just seems like I've seen people bring this up before. This isn't like a new thing, but it just seems like a way to justify, this complete state control over our lives, right? Like we can't continue living the way we do. We have to let the government come in and take control of what we're doing in order to save the planet, save the environment, to save all of us, right? To save our lives. And I don't know, man. That to me seems very shady. That to me seems like something that would be really rife for abuse. Really goes against like personal liberties and stuff like that. Like it reminds me a lot of like the gun control thing. Again, I'm very anti-gun control. It just seems like these people are like wanting to do all of this terrible shit to fuck us over, but like are trying their hardest to justify it as like being a good thing. Like try and like present themselves as being progressive and like being very environmentalist and being like these good virtuous people that you need to be part of if you need to be considered a good person, right? You see this a lot when it comes to these issues, right? They have these memes, right? Like the right side of history, like calling everybody against them like evil and stuff like that. Demonizing anyone who like opposes them as being like ignorant, like praising education as like being the righteous path to like enlightenment and truth. Public education for being the path to enlightenment. Again, it's stuff like that. Like there's nothing wrong with education. Like I am very much self-educated. I highly endorse people to like research things and like learn more about the world and stuff like that. But like there's so much of this public like a high profile shit is like complete bullshit, right? Like they're trying. Bill Nye is like some pop scientist now that like hit like millennials are like hyping up as like some major voice of reason in like the scientific sphere, right? When he's like some idiot who does no idea what the fuck he's talking about. Like saying there's more than two sexes and stuff like that. Um, you know, yeah, his show is literally called, I'm not sure, it should have been canceled like by the first episode. His show is literally called Bill Nye Saves the World, which is the most like arrogant, condescending, sort of like bullshit, self-indulgent thing I think I've ever heard in my life. Like these people are so up their own ass about like being these righteous, virtuous people, and like everything they do is right, nothing is wrong, and like everybody who's against us is like evil, and they need to be like talked down to. It's just so ridiculous, right? So ridiculous. I hate it so much. Ridiculous. Don't care for it at all. I just, it's so bad. I don't know. Like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is allegedly like an economics major, right? Like someone like this is the first time this has ever happened to me in my life, but this is the first time that I've ever looked at someone in Congress and known for a fact that I'm probably better educated than she is on certain subjects, like the things she talks about, like the economy, like the government, like everything along those lines. Like again, it's kind of embarrassing to like see this person be praised by the media. Um, yeah. I'm not sure how popular she is in her party. Like, I think she speaks to like the millennial half of the party. Like, you have like the established elites of the Democratic Party who, and you have like the millennial hipsters who like genuinely buy into this like diversity crap, right? Alexandria is part of that demographic, and like she's getting support from that demographic, from like people in the media, right? People quote shut up about her and her ideas, even though they're completely fucking retarded. I just, it just, it's just ridiculous, right? Um, it just goes to show you, I don't know, like everything. I can't even keep track of everything stupid she says because like every time I hear her speak, it's just like so ridiculous. Well, okay, she likes Donkey Kong 64. I'll give her props for that. I don't know. Like she's certainly very relatable to like the millennials. Like, that's why she's popular. Is that she's relatable to the millennials who don't really understand this stuff and have never put in an effort to understand this stuff. Like she's just some idiot college grad who had like nothing going for her, who like got elected to Congress for some stupid inane reason, for like promising people like all this stupid shit she's not going to be able to deliver on, right? And I don't know, man. It's just going to collapse. And like, I am interested in seeing what's going to happen when she finally sells out, because I do think it's going to happen within like, eventually, right? Um, when she sells out and does something that like her base doesn't like, right? When she like tries to do something that like the establishment elite of the Democratic Party wants, right? Like that is going to go against like her core audience, her core like a fan base, right? Like I think that's going to like really impact them in the long run, right? I don't know, like these people, I don't know, like I hope we're going to have to see what the next generation thinks of these people, because I do think most of Gen Z doesn't like them. Like everyone I've spoken to seems to have issues with these kind of people. Like I think younger people are starting to realize that this millennial lifestyle of like self-indulgence doesn't really work, and they need to think about like their jobs and like their futures. Like I don't know, like I feel like my younger brother is more responsible, well, is going to have a more successful life than my than certain other family members, because like I feel like they're doing more things to like acquire more skills and stuff like that to like actually work to overcoming their problems, as opposed to like oh we'll just beg the government for more stuff. I just uh, not sustainable at all. I don't care for it. uh, I mean, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Like, I don't think these people can ever become a majority, right? Because the majority of them don't have kids. Like people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, like outright advocate for never having kids because like the planet's going to end in 12 years. Yeah, I don't know. Like they're going to die out eventually, and I think people are going to sort of it's going to be like the hippie movement, right? Like it's going to die out, but it's going to sort of evolve into something else. And I'm not entirely sure what that something else is going to be, right? Like, are we going to just become more conservative? Is this like the end point? Are they going to become increasingly ridiculous? Like, are they going to push for like, are they going to continue pushing for like hard, like I can't imagine them going more extreme than they already do because I know liberals who are like super alienated by what's going on. What the kind of shit that like uh people are pushing, like universal basic income and stuff like that. That's off-putting to some people, and I don't know. Like I think people are dissatisfied with like the Democratic Party at the moment. Like sort of like how people were dissatisfied with like the Republican Party back like 10 years ago. It feels like I just I don't know. Like it is impossible to like predict what's happening next. Like I mean, in 2012, none of us saw Trump coming, right? Like it felt like to me like this sort of the same sort of problems would go on forever, but like it seems to have sort of a backtracked a lot. It feels like people have worked to make real lasting changes, right? And that they're beginning to really fix the problems with our politicians, with our societies, like really talk about these sort of problems. And I am pretty confident that the people will be able to fix them. The people already know what needs to be done. The issue is that like our leaders are just sort of refusing to do that for whatever reason. And it's going to take people like Trump and like people who, his supporters to really like make major changes, like overall, and to like really go against the grain when it comes against this sort of thing. Right? That's how I feel about it. Like I don't think this will ever become a communist country, a socialist country. Like it's just not popular enough. Like among the older demographic, among like everyone who actually has a job, pretty much won't want to pay like additional taxes, right? Like it's all like unemployed people, like all lazy shits, like who are voting for this stuff, and like they exist, but like, and they're like trying to push this stuff, but like I don't know. As they get older, they may grow out of it, right? They might start to die off because of the drug abuse. They might stop voting entirely. I don't know. Like I think as we get older, we'll start to see like a major pushback against this kind of lifestyle and these kind of people, right? That's how I feel about that. Yeah, I think that's a major problem. Like people are not acknowledging what the problem is. They always like circle jerk about stupid bullshit that doesn't actually matter, right? I don't know. Like people are getting sick of it. People like are checking out of are like not listening to the mainstream media for a very very good reason. Like I think back 10 years ago, people already did not care for the media, but they saw it as like unrelatable. They saw it as like being a different perspective and something they didn't necessarily agree with, but fine, whatever. Like they disagree with people all the time. But now people are starting to understand how malicious the mainstream media actually is towards like our lifestyles, our political beliefs, our values, stuff like that. And I don't know, people are sort of rallying against it and sort of doing all of this stuff and sort of yeah, I'm very confident that we are going to be fine in the long run. Like I am going to be fine in the long run. So in that situation, like why worry? Like you're just going to obviously you want to keep supporting what you want to support, but again, whew. Oh, here's a good example. Yeah, I should have just been reading off a poll this entire time to like for examples what I'm talking about. Yeah, let's talk about yeah. This is a woman thread. This is the kind of stuff I was talking about. I think I'm going to talk about this. Okay, DFW. What does the fuck does that even mean? I still don't know. I guess I'm still a noob. Women are hitting the wall younger and younger as shitty diets and cock carousel ages women faster than ever. I'm nearing 30, and all women my age look horrendously used up. All the young prime 20-year-olds are completely uninterested in marriage and only want to ride the cock carousel. No wonder the birth rates are getting destroyed. I'm sure you're a gem to look at, calling out on him out on the shit. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I was talking about, right? Like the double standards, the bullshit, just all around. Just get over it, right? Just find someone who suits you, right? It's not that big of a deal. I've met several people I was perfectly happy with. There's this. Yeah. So, ooh, yeah, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to this sort of thing. Did I talk about censorship at all? I think I did. Yeah, I talked about that. Yeah, I talked about the job market. I talked about what else is there to talk about, really? Ooh. Bum, 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 bum. All right, so what else is there to talk about, man? Uh, yeah, I think that's it for the Blackpill stream. I kind of wanted to talk about gaming too. I think I'll just restart the stream in a couple of minutes and just talk about gaming again because I do have a lot to talk about when it comes to that too. I really wish I had more time to do it, but yeah, I'll stream to more. I think that'll be it for now, and I'll see you all later. Thank you very much.